How's everybody doing this evening? I hope everybody's doing well. Just trying to get some things finalized here. Hoping everything is coming through okay. Okay. Looks like we got some. Okay. Looks like everything but my restream chat is up. Okay. I do believe we are good to go. Alright, so we got a lot of things to go over tonight. I hope we get through all of it. If we don't, there's always tomorrow. So, there's some minor updates that we're going to talk about. One being the recent Valve trial, the one here in the States, not the one in Europe. There's also going to be a article that we're going to be covering, going over the Elder Scrolls, new information about that. Going to be covering some information about the Steam Deck and various other third-party hardware that is similar to that. We've got some HoYoverse updates for you as well, along with some Styx information. I know that game has just come out the other day, and I'm still trying to decide if I want to pick it up. Then we have a lot of information, you might say a veritable marathon about the game Marathon, and then some things about God of War. But the major thing I want to get through today is going to be the Marathon. That's going to be the big story for us tonight. And then the other one, because I think there's a lot of people that play these games, I think the other one that I kind of want to get to for sure is going to be the HoYoverse game updates, because I know there's a lot of Genshin type players and some people that play the Honkai Star Rail, and that last video that I did for Honkai Star Rail with the codes did pretty decently considering my meager outreach and in general my people, how far out my videos actually get to people. But so let's get started here. We're going to get started with the Elder Scrolls. I'm going to go over this article for that. Let me find my proper page. There we go. All right, so this one, going over the Elder Scrolls 6 is coming back to the Bethesda classic style. And with the detours that they've had, with Starfield and Fallout 76, because, originally Elder Scrolls was supposed to come out first, and it in fact did not, because they got pulled into these other games. The article says Elder Scrolls 6 is going to return to Bethesda's classic style of games, according to Bethesda. This comes from an interview done by Howard with Kinda Funny, in which he talked about why he can't really provide too much of an update on the Elder Scrolls 6 and admits he would have preferred not to have announced it so early back in 2018. Yeah, anytime you announce a game and it takes you 8 years or, nigh on to a decade in order to actually pull out, or put out any kind of updates on a game, it's probably best not to announce a game more than a year before you're going to be putting it out. So I think this was a bad move, personally. However, he says players can expect to be a return to Bethesda's classic form after the studio took creative detours with both Starfield and Fallout 76. And here is the quote: "We do have a certain style that we like and that our fans like that we want to get better and better at. I think in some ways Fallout 76 and Starfield are a little bit of a creative detour from that classic Elder Scrolls Fallout, a Skyrim or a Fallout 3 or a Fallout 4 or Oblivion, where you're exploring a world in a certain way, and as we come back to Elder Scrolls 6 that we are doing now, we're coming back to that classic style that we've missed and we know really, really well." And we'll watch this video here after this. The rest of this article, it's really short, and the video is also only 36 seconds. Howard goes on confirming that the studio has spent the last several years involving on Creation Engine 2. It is the game engine behind Starfield, and bringing it up to Creation Engine 3, which will power Elder Scrolls 6 and beyond. Later in the interview, he adds that the majority of people who made Skyrim are still here, while new faces have also joined the studio, bringing experiences from other studios to lend to the Elder Scrolls 6. It's been a long, agonizing wait for the Elder Scrolls 6 since it was first announced. Wow, okay, almost 8 years ago. Yeah, it has been almost a decade, and that is entirely way too long, especially given how long ago you announced the game. It goes beyond edging. It has, in fact, been longer between the announcement and now than it was between the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim and the announcement of Elder Scrolls 6. Howard has warned eager fans as recently as last November that the game is still a long way off, and has even teased that he may just shadow drop it. Something he alluded to again today with Kinda Funny. He reiterated today that it's going to be a while yet and confirmed that we're able to play it. We're about to pass a big milestone internally, and the majority of the studio is on the game and some of our partners. But Howard also claims all this waiting is necessary for the game to be great. What do fans want? He said in December of last year, do they want a game that comes out before it should and doesn't meet their expectations? Or do they want the turkey that is in the oven for long enough to be delicious when it finally comes out of the oven? You know. That's what I think people are going to want. So we're going to take our time, and as long as it needs to be great. Well, while I'm glad they're taking their time, I feel that taking this long is a bit ridiculous. And I hope this video plays, but we're going to play this teaser trailer. Well, I thought I was going to play the video. Okay, that's quite embarrassing. Come on. No. Okay, well, so the video is not going to play. Let me see if I can actually just search for it and see what pops up here. Of course. Come on, give me what I want. I want the... That's what I want right there. Maybe we can actually get it to play this time. That was pretty neat. It looks like there's a whole bunch of, also a bunch of YouTube videos wondering where it is, but we know that it's still a long way off. Anyway, so that's the quick update on Elder Scrolls. And with the Valve, so Valve, as you may or may not know, actually has two lawsuits, only one of them being famous and in the news right now in Europe. There's one here in the States. That was a couple of years ago. And this one, Valve actually won a couple of days ago. And this article says a Washington jury has favored Valve in its lawsuit against the patent troll inventor Leigh Rothschild and a myriad of his associated companies for breaching a contract and violating a state patent protection law. According to reports by Bloomberg and PC Gamer, the U.S. District Court for the Western District of Washington favored Valve on all counts as part of a lawsuit that dates back to July of 2023. In a minute filed on February 17th and uploaded by Bloomberg Law, the court determined that Rothschild and his affiliates violated Washington's Patent Troll Prevention Act and Consumer Protection Act, as well as breached contract. Rothschild and Valve have a storied history, with the two being in and out of courts since at least 2016. The inventor has an assortment of patents, both granted and pending, under his name that extends to a broad array of fields, including barcodes and QR codes. Many of his companies deal in patents, too. For example, Rothschild Broadcast Distribution System, the RBDS, owns patent US 8856221B2, which is a system and method for storing broadcast content in a cloud-based computing environment. Valve obtained a perpetual, irrevocable, and royalty-free, fully paid-up, worldwide license for it and others in Rothschild's portfolio in 2016. Rothschild sued Valve in 2022 for patent infringement, then again in 2023 over US 8856221B2. Valve has alleged in the lawsuit that Rothschild and several of his companies named in the lawsuit, RBDS, Display Technologies LLC, Patent Asset Management LLC, Myler Legal LLC, and Samuel Myler, were guilty of bad faith assertions of patent infringement. The company claimed that this litigation created threats over software technology Valve can legally use, effectively making patent trolls easier to target. Patent trolls are understood as actions performed by an individual or a company in which a patent is filed but never used, and that individual or company issues meritless infringement allegations to obtain payouts that are generally less than the cost of the litigation itself. Rothschild and Valve have yet to publicly comment on the ruling, but Rothschild must pay damages of up to $25,000, declare the patent discussed in the lawsuit is invalid, and provide injunctive relief to Valve. So I actually heard a higher dollar amount that was closer to like $120,000, but as it's technically unfounded, I didn't really want to go digging for it again. Plus, it was pretty sure it was a tweet. But let me check my bookmarks just to make sure I don't have anything in there as well. Give me 1 second. Nope. I don't have anything in here about that. Okay. So that's it for the Valve trial. Like I said, just a couple of quick little updates for that kind of stuff. And here related to Steam, we'll start here with the Steam Deck. The Steam Deck is out of stock in actually several areas of the world, including the US, Europe, and Asia at a minimum. That was the recent that I had heard before or after I had pulled up this particular article. Steam Deck is currently out of stock on Steam Store itself. Users have been reporting at various times over the past couple of weeks that the US Steam Store often shows all Steam Deck models as sold out, and that while they do sometimes become available for sale again, the sold out signs are showing far more frequently than usual. At the time of writing, all 3 models remained sold out on the Steam Store in the US, though they are in stock in the UK for right now. Actually, I just saw a tweet this morning that said they were sold out in England. Valve has posted a notice on the Steam Store informing players that Steam Deck availability may continue to fluctuate due to the ongoing issue with memory costs. Steam Deck OLED may be out of stock intermittently in some regions due to memory and memory shortages. The company statement reads, Steam Deck LCD 256 gigabytes is no longer in production and once sold out will no longer be available. Earlier this month, Valve confirmed that it has delayed announcing the price and release date of its Steam Machine and Steam Frame devices due to the rapidly increasing price of PC components. Actually, I thought I saw something that said that they actually pushed the release of the Steam Frame and Steam Machine. I heard that they pushed those back even further yet as far as releases, so they're not even going to comment on prices as of right now. The entire tech industry is bracing for what some publications are dubbing Ramageddon, as memory is becoming increasingly scarce and exponentially more expensive. Well, they did the same thing with CPUs a while back as well. And I have heard unconfirmed rumblings that they're actually building more factories to build these RAM chips. But those will take a couple of years to actually get built, from what I have heard. But like I said, that is a rumor. So don't go spreading it around like some kind of false hope. The entire tech industry. Whereas the global chip shortage of 2020 and 2023 was mainly down to disruptions in the supply chain due to COVID-19 pandemic, the current memory shortage is mainly attributed to AI data centers buying up huge quantities of it, resulting in DRAM prices reportedly rising by as much as 172% throughout 2025. And I actually today was looking just to see what RAM prices would be. I went on to Amazon, and 64 gigs of RAM was nearly $1,000. Analysts and tech companies are both predicting that the situation could have a drastic effect for the entire tech industry, with companies such as Apple and Tesla warning that production will be constrained in the future. So don't go trading in your phones, because you might not be able to get a new one for a while if the RAM chips keep getting sold out, because I'm pretty sure they're going to be buying all kinds of other components as well. Bloomberg reported this week that Sony is considering holding back the release of the PlayStation 6 to either 2028 or 2029, given the bottleneck of memory production could have a large impact on the availability and cost of new hardware. Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't be putting out any new hardware right now because nobody's going to buy anything new, especially with the price being sky high right now. So postponing it until prices have alleviated would be the best idea. Should the situation continue, analysts say further console price increases are also expected, as manufacturers look to absorb less of a financial hit from the growing cost of components. Earlier this month, Nintendo president Shintaro Furukawa said there are still no plans to increase the price of Switch 2 due to increasing cost of memory. But this could change if the situation isn't resolved. I don't think they would need to because the Switch 2 is already crazy high priced and Nintendo never lowers their prices, so they're already making a huge percentage of profit, so there's no real need to increase the price, especially when they manufacture them for pennies by comparison to other consoles because they're so small. That, again, there's no need to change the prices. And that takes us here to the third-party version, the Asus ROG. Asus has increased the price of their ROG Xbox Ally X handheld in Japan by nearly $200. So they upped it in Japan specifically. When it was originally released in Japan, the portable gaming PC cost 89,800 yen, or $585, for the lower end ROG Xbox Ally, and 139,800 yen, or $913 for the higher spec ROG Xbox Ally X. Now, as spotted by Otaku Soken, while the standard ROG Xbox Ally remains the same price, the ROG Xbox Ally X now costs $169,800 or $1,109 on the official Asus website, an increase of 30,000 yen. While the official reason for the price increase has yet to be confirmed, it's believed it could be the latest example of hardware prices rising due to the increased scarcity and cost of fast memory and storage. Notably, while the Xbox Ally contains 16 gigabytes of LPDDR5 and 512 gigabytes of storage, the Ally X contains 24 gigabytes of faster LDDPR5X and 1 terabyte of storage. The Xbox Ally X's faster and more sought-after RAM therefore is likely to be the reason it's received a price increase while the cheaper model remains the same price. Similar price increases have not yet been confirmed outside of Japan, meaning that at the time of the writing of this article, prices are still $500 for the Xbox Ally and $999 for the Xbox Ally X. Which were the prices at launch. I can see why they would raise the price of the more desirable one because it has more expensive hardware in it, and you're taking a chance that people are still willing to pay that higher price. But if you don't make it crazy more expensive, which I think $400 $200 is quite the hike. I don't know where I got $400 from, but $200 is still quite the hike, and it's not an amount of money that I'd be willing to pay. This week, Valve informed players that the Steam Deck, the closest rival to the ROG Xbox Ally handhelds, would be out of stock intermittently in some regions due to memory and storage shortages, which we actually read in the last article. The continued strain on RAM availability and its subsequent surge in pricing has been making tech companies reconsider plans for their current and future products as the cost of goods become increasingly higher and profit margins either shrink or disappear entirely. A report from Bloomberg earlier this week cites sources who claim that Sony, and we covered that as well. Okay, and so those are your hardware updates for today. Now, question is, do we cover Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail, the Hoyoverse? Do we jump into Styx, Marathon, or do we go over God of War stuff? The Marathon stuff will likely take a while, and honestly, this Hoyoverse stuff actually has codes to play with, or to, codes for you to use in the games. And there's actually mostly codes. And there's a lot. So we're not even going to turn this into a video. I'm just going to say that there are codes. But let me get over to my thing here, because I want to do something real quick. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to read this article real quick for Genshin Impact codes, because I want to do this as a clip, and then I want to clip both of these pages as codes, and that way they'll be on my main site. Okay, so these are the Genshin Impact codes for February, as well as directions on how to redeem them. I will also be showing the Honkai Star Rail codes as well. So I'll scroll slowly for y'all. Actually, for Genshin Impact, it's just these codes here on this main thing. The rest are expired codes, so these are the main ones that you want here. And then down here is how to redeem them, and also how to get some free Primo Gems. So again, these are the codes you want. And this is how to redeem them. Clip. Okay, I'm gonna call this Genshin codes. Okay, so there's that one. And next, all right, here we have Honkai Star Rail codes. Again, this is the Honkai Star Rail codes for February. These are the active codes for Honkai Star Rail. And then this is how you redeem them. Again, these are the active codes. And how to redeem them. I hope you guys are able to redeem them in time, and that way you can use them to get the free stuff. Okay. So those are those. Okay. I need to bring up my bookmarks here. Alright, I may have to actually, you know what? I don't need the tweets because I have the videos that are in there as part of it, but let me see. Ooh, you know what? I can just copy the link. Sweet. Okay. Sorry, I should have done this sooner. I didn't think about it till just now, so I do apologize. Okay. Okay. Oh, come on. I'm so sorry that stuff is so out of hand right now. Was not my intention. I do apologize. This is what happens when I come home from work to come and do these. I don't have enough time to situate all my tabs and stuff. Okay. 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 Let's see here. Okay. Let's see. Where do I want to start? Where do we want to start? Well, welcome, Internet. Today we're going to be covering a game that was just recently released called Styx Blades of Greed. And this game is the newest in the series of the Styx series, where you are basically a goblin, and you go around basically doing stealth assassinations and trying to sneak through and gather treasure. This guy, the main character of the show, or the main character of the game is literally a loot goblin because he's super greedy and trying to gather all the treasure he can while helping out the human resistance as well, it seems. It's been a long time since I played any of the games, so there's not a whole lot that I remember about it. So there's a couple of things we're going to be going over, and we're going to be taking a look at some of the gameplay as well, and reading the review that somebody has done, and we're also going to be covering this IGN article talking about the game itself, and we'll probably look at the Steam page for it as well. We're going to start here with the article. from IGN, Styx Blades of Greed aims to carry the torch for stealth games, and I would imagine that this game would actually be probably a sight better than the newest Assassin's Creed, even though obviously game mechanics and controls and everything like that will be a bit different. Alright, let's jump into the article. The opening area of the campaign for Styx Blades of Greed shows promise and the potential for creative stealth gameplay as a tiny but mighty creature in spaces designed for much larger beings. Extinguishing torches to create safe passages, cutting chandelier chains to crush groups of guards, and popping out of goblin-sized tunnels to assassinate enemies from behind is just kind of Styx's thing. And now, the third entry in the series has sharpened its blades considerably. If you already liked Styx Master of Shadows, or Styx Shards of Darkness, or any of the series' obvious inspirations such as Thief, Dishonored, Assassin's Creed, and other games just like it, you're in for a treat when Styx Blades of Greed launches on February 19th. That was yesterday. I'm a little behind on these articles. And it launched for PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. Before the article gets into the nitty-gritty of goblin life, it's worth noting that the preview session ran through a cloud streaming service, which unfortunately experienced considerable latency issues that made the caliber of precision platforming necessary to progress through Styx Blades of Greed feel more like piloting a drone on another continent than stepping into the boots of a little green fella. Split-second timing defines Styx gameplay loop, making input delay a serious obstacle when it appears. Unfortunately, after massively downgrading bitrate settings to get this Zeppelin flying, the early areas uncovered a beautiful and compelling high fantasy world with plenty of nooks and crannies to explore. On first boot, there's an initial accessibility menu with thoughtful implementation, which is always nice to see. Options for deuteropania, protanopia, and tritanopia color blindness modes appear alongside adjustable color vision deficiency, severity, color spectrum shifting, and controller vibration settings. It takes less than a second to skip through, but matters enormously to players who need it. I apologize for my inability to read those giant-ass words. You'll travel between even larger locations on a sweet Zeppelin in classic Warhammer or World of Warcraft fashion. So apparently there's now a blimp in this game, which I think would be kind of cool. And like I said, we'll watch some of the gameplay a little bit later. After a decadently paced and informative opening cutscene, a subsequent tutorial layers in movement mechanics gradually. Running, jumping, double jumping, and power sliding are all properly introduced and explained as the playable zone starts opening up. Which is great because the tutorial itself doesn't overstay its welcome. The B button executes a slide that allows players to slip under obstacles or cover ground quickly, while pressing RB after a jump triggers a cool little dash that propels Styx upwards along the walls. The preview build also included advanced saves that showcase grappling hook and glider mechanics in the Turquoise Dawn environment, which are available later on in the campaign. That said, our session focused primarily on the opening hours centered around the Wall, a sprawling human settlement built on the side of a mountain. Styx Blades of Greed commits earnestly to its high fantasy roots, and its environments carry substantial detail to help players establish a sense of place in its immersive world. For instance, its opening zone features ornate dwarven architecture covered in ramshackle human structures and detritus, illuminated by atmospheric lighting that casts long shadows across vast industrial spaces. You'll also cover between even larger locations on a sweet Zeppelin in classic Warhammer or World of Warcraft fashion, so it's like a fantasy blimp or airship that a lot of the RPGs and stuff like that have. A deep level of consideration went into the way this world functions, and playing as a goblin within it provides a distinct perspective that makes Styx both unique and interesting. Alright, so now we'll take a look at the Steam page. Earlier it was all early access when I saw this, early yesterday, late the night before. So these are some of the pictures on Steam for it. And then you got your pre-order videos as well on here. You got several different versions to play with, to choose from if you want like the whole collection, other DLCs. Let's see if we can find reviews. I want reviews for this game. Give me the reviews. There we go. There are 165 reviews. It seems like the first few are not recommended. Some people are saying that the game is unpolished. The game's performance is bad and it looks terrible. Difficulty is ceremonial. Apparently, it's not difficult enough. Then it doesn't seem like there's enough enemies. So there's a few people that don't like the game, but overall, it is mostly positive. So take those bad reviews for what they are. Maybe people just aren't used to the game. And now we'll jump into this review that that PC Gamer wrote. And if you guys have been here before, you'll know that I am not the if you've seen me tweet on X, I'm not the biggest fan of PC Gamer, but right now it is the only publication that has a review written for Styx, and they rated it an 82. I have a fractious relationship with the Styx series. I love its highly vertical and often punishing approach to third-person stealth, but I loathe its foul-mouthed, quippy goblin protagonist. Honestly, his foul mouth and being quippy and snarky and all that stuff, that was the best part of him. It's what made him him. Without it, you just have short green dude killing people, and it's not as fun or funny. Can't even stand the look of him. Styx has made me cringe through dozens of hours of otherwise brilliant sneaking and terror-wrecking. And I guess it's saying something that I enjoyed pretty much every moment of Blades of Greed despite wanting to slug the sleazy green sod in the ear. So, this person seems like they're just a bit sour and they don't like fun characters. But they seem to be more than happy to just go around slaughtering people, but they just don't want to hear the main character have any dialogue or any actual depth as a character. What they want is a green automaton and just go around mindlessly killing people. It's been 9 years since the last Styx game, and quite a bit has changed. Blades of Greed shifts towards an open world format, but the result is not dissimilar to the level-based design of the first two Styx games. There are 3 massive maps here, and all sprawl vertically to an extent that makes Dark Souls Blighttown look like the Sahara. I can't access everywhere immediately, though, because Styx now has a Metroidvania-style traversal upgrades that makes returning to previously visited regions hugely rewarding. The first is a hook shot. I can use it to reach otherwise inaccessible heights or access ones faster. And the second is a parachute for riding wind columns like elevators or breaking my fall. These and more are doled out during story beats, but as usual, Styx has a range of optional unlockable abilities too. Mostly used his returning temporary invisibility cloak, but Styx can also possess enemies, create a clone, and slow down time, in addition to some more offensive upgrades that didn't suit this person's playstyle. Well, I mean, that's why they give you the skills. They do it so you can customize the character to the way you prefer to play, so that way you don't have to play any particular way. That's part of the fun of these RPG-style games. You can customize the character to the way that you want. There are a lot of RPG-like decisions to make, but they ultimately come down to whether you like to just sneak around or if you plan to take a more brazen approach. Either way, for most players, Blades of Greed demands that direct encounters be kept to a minimum. It's possible to engage in direct combat with a foe, but remember, you're a goblin. Maybe surprisingly, Blades of Greed is an utterly gorgeous game, even on medium settings. My favorite map was The Wall. Its tumble-down, multi-storied city built on the arches of a towering viaduct. I loved ferreting around in the upper reaches of this tenebrous ghetto, scaling heights that seem impossible or else off bounds from afar. There's also Turquoise Dawn, a verdant swampish expanse once the sole province of orcs. With monolithic trees and even taller strongholds, Styx even revisits the ruins of Akanash, which was destroyed in the first Styx game. As much as the Styx games are stealth, they are also basically platformers, and Blades of Greed's shift to an open world format has resulted in a hugely rewarding exploration. There were a couple of occasions during my playthrough when I was pretty sure I was sequence breaking the game, but no, it's always perfectly valid to shuffle dangerously along the wall above a sheer drop rather than take the stairs, and there's always probably a couple of other routes to take as well. That was one thing that I loved about the other games, was you were able to kind of pick and choose your routes. You know, you had more than one that you could do and use. And so, you know, that kind of freedom, I think, is always essential to these kind of games. The maps are designed like sprawling honeycombs, and this is most obvious when I have to make a quick escape. Crawl spaces connect chambers, which are also connected by rooftops, windows, corbels, and pilasters. When a foe spots me, I can escape up a chimney, parkour down a nearby rope, leap through the window, and cut his throat from behind. By the 5-hour mark, Styx takes on an expressive fluidity. It's almost more fun to be caught. Usually I avoid taking the stairs because they were guarded, but not always by humans. There are your normal lumpen guards belonging to the villainous inquisitors, and these sometimes appear in heavy variety to complicate every murder and hide impulse. But Styx Assyrian content also has giant insects with brilliantly attuned hearing and dog-like ferals who explode upon approach. Sometimes there are big swarms of pests who will thoroughly devour Styx upon contact. And let's not forget the pustulant green plants that can wipe out 3/4 of Styx's health bar if he walks too close. I never liked creeping around wildlife. It diminishes the role play of being a murderous little grunt when you're stealth stabbing bugs or undead. But thankfully the vast majority of encounters in Styx are with semi-intelligent beings. I never really understood why you would play a stealth game and then not play it stealthily, at least upon first try of playing the game. Usually I would think you would want to try and play the game the way it was intended, that way you can get used to everything and then you get fancy. Otherwise it feels like you're running before you walk. Blades of Greed manages to feel varied almost despite itself. While there are big, set-piece-oriented missions, Styx spends huge swaths of his time moseying around the 3 main maps looking for quartz. These are powerful slabs of gleaming blue rock that the Inquisitors are using to their diabolical political ends, and which, naturally, Styx is unusually capable of handling. As a result, many of the story missions take the form of go here and find 3 quartz. At first, this seems boring, but Cyanide has embellished its worlds with puzzles and amusing obstacles in almost every instance, making each search for a quartz a discrete stealth narrative of its own. This is why I said before that the semi-open world structure hasn't really changed the Styx formula in a massive way. It still feels like sequence of tightly constructed missions. There's now just a whole lot more choice regarding how you approach them. Which, like I said before, choice is always a good thing in these kinds of games. I did encounter problems though. During one quartz hunt, I needed to scale a seemingly insurmountable wall, and rather than simply climb it, which was what I ended up doing, spent an hour fiddling around with a bunch of switches in the hopes of lowering a bridge. Turns out these switches weren't relevant to me until a later mission, but I was compelled to keep trying because there's some actual bugs in sticks that undermined my confidence. So instead of, thinking, oh, hey, this doesn't do anything, let's try something else, you continued to beat your head against the wall and do stupid thing for over an hour. That seems more like a you problem than an issue with the game. Keys that I couldn't pick up even though nearby enemies weren't on alert, entries that were sometimes accessible and other times invisibly blocked, and a quick save that only worked 95% of the time. Okay, so those are genuine bugs. Fair, those are a decent complaint. Performance was a little hairy on my RTX 3060 laptop, albeit stable. Unusually, I'd drop frames in a busy bug-ridden interiors rather than the vast exteriors. But in a game this quiet and exacting, I wasn't annoyed enough to turn settings down too low. And I really needed to upgrade anyway. Blades of Greed is a really good stealth game set in a meticulously detailed fantasy world, and oddly enough, by the end, I didn't even hate Styx himself anymore. Blades of Greed shaves away some of Styx's most tedious misanthropy, and it has him traveling between missions with a varied cast of fellow adventurers. This sounds even more punishing on paper, but for the wide color gamut and tonal variety, I think this Styx game actually pulls off what I've thought the earlier games tried and failed. Blades of Greed feels like a classic 1980s dark fantasy in the mold of the Dark Crystal or Return to Oz. Still don't love Styx, but I think I know why Cyanide Studios was trying to do with him all along, and I think they finally pulled it off. You hate the main character. How can you even say anything that isn't even remotely biased to this game? Anyway, that's all we have for the... Oh, wait, you know what? No, that's not all we have. We have some bit of the gameplay to check out. So this looks pretty cool. I think this is actually part of the... This looks like part of the first one, but no, it's just that the game is flowing naturally as far as like between sequels. This looks cool. That looked cool. And I don't want to get too much into this before I get blocked by YouTube or anything like that. But I mean, just from that little snippet there, I think this game has a lot of promise, and I will probably be picking this up and playing it myself on stream at a later date. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I know this was a quick little update on the game that you may or may not be interested in, but if you're a fan of stealth games like Assassin's Creed, I recommend you guys take a look at it at least. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you on the next one. Later. Okay, that's that one done. Oh. Alright, so we can close these tabs. Alright, so this is the marathon page. Maybe we'll start the next video here, but I'm going to take a quick second here, and I'm going to go refill my water. Throat's getting a little dry. Anyhow, hope you guys enjoyed the music break on the BRB. So I'll be back in a second, guys. Okay. Where do we start from? Maybe we can start here. I figured we'd cover the marathon stuff because there's more to it. And we don't really need this page. Alright. This is the page we're going to start on. For marathon. Alright, where to begin? That is the question. Okay. What's going on, Internet? Looks like we have a lot of stuff to cover today about a new video game that's coming out in March. You might say we have a marathon of information to get to. So today we're going to be covering Marathon, and there's a whole lot to go over. There's a upcoming server test, there's a leak to go over, and we're going to be covering some crossplay as well, and how the crossplay is going to work. So first, we're going to start off here on the Steam DB page for Marathon, and it looks like over time, starting back in March of last year, or January of last year, there's been a whole lot of interest, and then starting in March to May is when it really took off, and then finally in January and this month here, we're up over 60,000 people that are following this game on Steam alone. And the publisher of this game is going to be Bungie. And so let's get started with the preview weekend for later this month, and then we'll move into the other stuff. So Bungie is opening, or is going to be holding a preview week later this month, and I believe that actually starts next week on the 26th. Yep, there it is. It's going to be what they're calling a Server Slam weekend, or the Server Slam weekend is going to run from February 26th to March 2nd, and it's going to be for the PlayStation 5, Xbox, and PC, and feature an introduction to Marathon's gameplay as well. So some content's going to be locked before the full release on the 5th, when the game comes out. The Server Slam is going to be including 2 zones. It's going to be, which are the maps, which would be Perimeter and Dire Marsh. And they're going to be opening contracts for 5 of Marathon's factions, all 6 runner shells, solo queue, proximity chat, and other things as well, according to Bungie. Those who join the Server Slam will be able to unlock rewards for the full game, so if you participate, you get extra freebies and goodies, including a special emblem and player banner, and a tiered gear package which includes weapons, body implants, and more. On Thursday, Bungie also showed some of the PlayStation-themed rewards for PlayStation Plus subscribers, who will be receiving 3 weapon charms based on Helldivers 2, Death Stranding 2, which is coming out also, and Ghost of Xbox and PC at around $40 here in the States, and will feature a no pay-to-win mechanics, according to the developer Bungie. With huge thanks to our incredible community, we've been able to play test and gather feedback to ensure that we're building Marathon with our players in mind. Community-led Andy Salisbury wrote. Whether you are with us back in April for our first alpha test, or you're just joining us now, there is a rich world full of lore and loot for you to discover when your cybernetic biosynthetic shell takes its first steps into our world. And y'all know I am a loot goblin like you can't believe. I love free goodies in games. Alright, so let's move on to this post in this. Well, they dropped this trailer. This trailer was posted by Dexerto. It's a quick little trailer dropped ahead of the server slam that's going to be coming, like I said, on the 26th. And as you can see here, let me make this bigger. Maybe this will help. You can actually see some of the gameplay. I don't think it actually looks that bad. I think it looks... I don't know. I mean, it's intriguing, and it almost looks like early Doom style, but these aren't necessarily my kind of games. But I mean, this kind of gameplay looks interesting, at least to me. So, all right. So that's that. The Slam, again, like I said, starts on 26th. I did not realize I had 2 articles of the same. But here's the rewards that you get for participating in the Slam. If you join us Starside, we've got some extra gear in store for you. Everyone who completes the introductory mission will unlock a unique emblem and the player background that marks you as part of the first wave of runners. On top of that, time spent during the Slam will bank loot rewards you'll receive at launch based on how far you progress. Complete your first mission and you unlock the standard arrival cache, which is 6 implants, 4 shell cores, 6 chip mods, and a overrun and hardline weapons. If you reach level 10, you unlock the enhanced arrival cache, and you get 6 implants, enhanced runner shell cores, 2 for each shell for a total of 12, enhanced weapon chip mods, 4 of each, and you unlock weapons enhanced magnum and enhanced hardline. If you reach level 30, you unlock the deluxe cache, and you deluxe and enhanced implants, 3 of each for a total of 6, deluxe and enhanced runner shell cores, 1 each for a total of 12, deluxe and enhanced weapon chip mods, 2 of each for total, and deluxe weapons, magnum and enhanced volley rifle, and you also get the deluxe base backpack. The emblem player banner and loot rewards will be waiting for you when Marathon launches on the 5th. And these are the things that you'll be playing during the Slam. You'll be able to go into 2 different zones. Perimeter and edge site expansion on the colony's outskirts, and Dire Marsh, the colony's agricultural research hub. And you'll take on the early contracts for the 5 factions of Cyber Acme, New Caloric, Traxxas, Mida, and Arachne. Progress through the early faction levels and progression trees for each faction. You can try 5 of the 6 shells that will be available at launch, plus the Scavenger Experience Rook. You can play as a crew or by yourself. You form alliances and use proximity chats during the server slam as well. And launch in Season 1, bring up additional maps, factions, contracts, and other gear. And some of those includes, you'll get 2 more zones, which would be outposts, and it'll be set in the middle of a thriving UESC military installation. And the Cryo Archive, an in-game zone aboard the derelict UESC Marathon, which unlocks during Season 1. And you'll get the Thief, which is the 6th runner shell. Full progression for all the factions, including additional contracts, deeper upgrade trees, and addition to the 6th faction Sekiguchi Genetics. And you'll also get a ranked mode, which unlocks during Season 1, and I guess they'll have other secrets and surprises for you. All in all, it looks like they have a lot of stuff coming out at launch and during the first year at least, and I think this will probably be better than High Guard, personally. And there's a gameplay trailer here, which we already saw a little bit of a trailer. And like I said, Marathon releases on March 5th on Steam, PlayStation 5, Xbox, and there's also going to be a collector's edition. It looks like you might need a Bungie account. You can pre-order now to secure additional in-game rewards, including weapons, cosmetics, emblems, and a player background for launch, plus a set of Destiny 2 rewards linked to your Bungie.net account. So that is something to be aware of, just in case. You might need a Bungie account. PlayStation Weapon Plus Charms, like I mentioned before, Helldivers 2, Death Stranding, and A Ghost of Yotei. Alright. And here's their little promo for the Server Slam. Start this over. Oh, let me unmute the tab.
It's quiet. Very quiet. Rainfall is expected to begin in the early afternoon and last until a long time. For those who did not wake, your restless dreams endure. So small among the stars. Breathe softly. Do not worry. Peace is upon you. And I am here to walk with you into its embrace.
Mayday! Mayday! Mayday!
Alright. Okay, so that was the Server Slam. Let's get into the leaks. So there was a leak recently from a Chinese promotional event for Marathon, and it looks like they leaked a whole lot of guns. The number, according to this article, is around 30 different weapons have been leaked. Bungie's next live service game, Marathon, is just a few weeks away. Preview events are already lined up around the world, including one in China, which reportedly showed off a ton of weapons and guns that will be available at launch. According to Marathon Game HQ, there will be 28 guns in Marathon, each with 2 or more skins. Some of the skins will alter the weapon model. Players can upgrade these weapons with 1 charm slot and 3 sticker slots. Each will be unlocked by completing challenges. The new game will maintain continuity with the Marathon Trilogy bundle created during the 90s. That link will be explored through the will of Dr. Strauss, which will reconnect the narrative threads between the original games and the new one. Each runner has a base appearance tied to each faction. 6 base appearances, so each character shell has 6 different models for each faction. That's pretty cool. That's a lot of customization, honestly. Although Marathon doesn't have a single-player campaign, the story for the game will unfold over time as players' decisions and actions shape the world around them. There are 6 primary factions to choose from, and individual skins for each faction will be available at game's launch. The game will support PvP and PvE encounters, and the report called the latter extremely challenging because enemy AI is constantly calling in reinforcements as time goes on, so there is no clearing the map. Marathon will be released on Xbox, PlayStation 5, and PC on March 5th. The game will support cross-play progression. Also, March 5th, Sony will debut a Marathon-themed DualSense controller and Pulse Elite headset. And let's go into the crossplay and how that's going to work. Extraction shooters are currently taking the world by storm, and Bungie is eager to make its mark on the genre with its fast-paced first-person shooter Marathon. Much like Arc Raiders, another popular entry into the world of extraction shooters, Marathon is much more accessible experience compared to the much more hardcore titles in the genre. But it still comes packing plenty of danger around every corner. As such, you will have to have a team to watch your back, meaning you'll need to bring along some friends you can trust. If you're diving into Marathon and looking to link up with your pals, you'll probably be asking whether the game features crossplay support. And we know from earlier that it actually does allow for crossplay and cross progression, which below will answer that question, as well as share information about Marathon's cross progression options so that you know what to expect before you even boot up the game. If you're hoping to play Marathon with your friends on different platforms, you'll be thrilled to know that Marathon features crossplay. This means that you can team up with players from across PlayStation and Xbox as well as PC, regardless of which hardware you choose to use. Crossplay is activated automatically and works through Bungie without the need to be signed into any external accounts. Oh, so maybe you don't necessarily need a Bungie account, just maybe you need one for those extra freebies that I mentioned earlier. So for those loading the game up via Steam, you can rejoice in knowing that you won't need to sign into a PlayStation account to play Marathon on PC. I love that. Does Marathon have cross progression? And the good news is yes. Extraction shooter fans looking to play across multiple devices, Marathon supports full cross progression. This means that you can play Marathon on one platform, then save, and then continue on another one. So you can start on a PC, save it, turn it off, go to your buddy's house, boot up their Xbox or PlayStation, load your profile, and keep playing on your progress. While Bungie hasn't revealed the full details of how players will link their ecosystems together, it's expected that this will either be linked to your Bungie ID or possibly use a system similar to Destiny 2's active account feature. We'll be sure to update this if we find out any more. So there you go. So that's what the Bungie account might possibly be for. So if that's how they're going to do it, I don't necessarily have a problem with that. If that's all that the Bungie account is going to be used for, as long as it's not being used for things like requiring people to play, I don't really see too much of a problem with it. Anyway, so that's the new information on Marathon. I hope you guys found it informative, at least in some way, and I look forward to seeing you all in the later videos. Catch y'all later. Bye. Okay, that takes care of Marathon. I don't even know how long that was. Oh, we'll figure it out later. So I'm not really going to do a video about this. It's just kind of small, but we are going to wrap up tonight's updates with the original God of War trilogy getting a full remake. So they announced this during the State of Play earlier this month, that the God of War was going to be getting a remake, and there's not really a whole lot to see. There's not really much in the trailers. They did bring back the original voice actor for the remakes, which I think is cool. That adds that continuity. I always appreciate it when they're doing a remake and they bring back the original voice actor or person that portrayed the character originally. I always find that cool, especially when, the actual appearance doesn't matter. I understand that you can't have like an older person playing their younger selves, but in cases where it's just the voice, it's just nice to have the original actors back. The remake of the original God of War trilogy is in the works, but they've just started. It's going to take a while, and they brought back the original character. I thought there was going to be more information. They did release Sons of Sparta, which is a side-scroller game, and that apparently was hot trash. A lot of people bought it thinking it was going to be fun, and they bought it in the hype of the God of War news of the hype of the God of War trilogy. People played it for a while and then immediately refunded it, and then left bad reviews. Let's see. I know that there was a lot of talk about when they remake the trilogy, making it more not as graphic. But if you're going to remake, I look at a remake as just like a revamping and an upgrading. If you change it, then you're not remaking it, you're changing it, and it's no longer the same game. I think that, things like that should stay in the games because it's part of who Kratos is, especially in the early parts of the game. If you change it or remove it, it kind of removes the drive, at least in the first game especially. Because I remember that about the first game. That's like the very first thing that you did. And it was on a boat. But those are just my opinions on it as far as the remake goes and as far as what they're thinking of changing. So that's your music news for this week, or at least for today. I'll have to dig into some more and see what else I can find. Alright, let me get the game up and moving. We're going to continue on with our Doom. I don't have it. Alright, give me 1 second. I got to load my Steam. What's my... Okay. Okay. We don't need that. We don't need credits. And if I remember correctly, we left off and we were about to climb into a giant robot. Ooh, hey. Alright, let's continue this. Right trigger to throw a punch, hitting enemies with the combo punches will charge your meter faster. Press right B once the finisher meter has charged to use a powerful finisher. So I'm literally just throwing punches. Press RB to stomp. Stomp will create a massive blast that can stun and shock groups of enemies. Punching shocked enemies will accelerate Atlan's attacks. Repeatedly stunning the same enemy reduces its impact. Pressing RB when there's no No finisher is charged will activate a rocket punch. Rocket punch can be used to quickly close the gap with your current target. Trigger your dash left trigger as an enemy is about to...
Sir, a type broke through. The energy relay is under attack.
If that core explodes, the city goes with it.
Sweet.
Dimensional barrier is shutting down. We can't stop it now. How long do we have?
Not long. The reactor has sustained heavy damage.
Come on. Nice. How come I don't have guns? That's not fair.
More Titans ahead. Support team, deploy weaponry.
Incoming.
Woohoo! I do get a weapon. Love that. Oh yeah. Holy smokes.
Player is approaching the core.
The barrier is critical. Relay overloading.
We need to pull everyone back.
Alright, what am I doing here? What are we doing? Yeah, let's just grab it with our hand.
That core will explode. He needs to evacuate now.
He's trying to save the city. Slayer, there's a strip mine nearby. I'll mark it for you.
The current ship has disappeared from radar.
for evac now.
Kick it! Kick it! Shove it in his stomach. There we go. That's how you do it. Nice. Yes.
The transdimensional barrier is offline. Demonic activity is surging. The Creed has requested an immediate report.
Return to the Sentinel barracks.
She doesn't seem happy.
I did as you asked. Now please, let her soul be at peace.
And the heart of Argent.
Is sealed in a chamber. I told you I cannot open it. No one can.
How did that big guy just disappear like that? Thirsty, I suggest you guys go to the Dragon's Treasure and get yourself some tea.
A distress signal was
And use
sent.
code ROKAI to get
We've tried
10% off
contacting
of
them.
y'all's,
No response.
orders. I personally have ordered like a couple different ones just recently.
from him,
The one I
but
ordered was Wrath, and then the
It
other one
is
was
an
a Chai
artifact
tea.
of immense power.
I drink the Wrath in the morning because it's got a
Forgive me.
high caffeine percentage and it helps keep me awake in the morning.
The Heart of Argent, discovered in AR-722. An artifact said to contain the soul of the last ring. Powers and origin unknown.
Assemble the guard.
on the north wing.
Let's go shotgun for now.
Valen, with the Slayer guarding the barracks, we'll take the airships. Rally at the priest signal.
Hear me, people. You will do as I say, or you will die.
Demons have entered the facility.
You don't say. Mission challenges are now available for you to discover and complete. Complete a mission challenge will grant you gold that can be used to purchase upgrades. You can track your progress or pin challenges to your HUD in the Challenges tab of the dossier. Kill 40 demons. Try that one. Actually, we'll pin all three so that way we can track them. See, when it tells me I have to find 40 gold, I feel like I have to start smashing everything. And for that, I blame freaking Legend of Zelda and those damn pots. What are you? Oh, shit. Yes. Okay. Execute a 3-hit melee combo. That would have been the time to do it right then.
I'm on board. I'll establish contact with Reach Eratum.
Commander Thera, the demonic presence around the priest signal is getting larger.
So there's a secret in there. Sweet! Found a toy. Yes. Okay. that. I don't like that at all. There's got to be a way up there. Now we're cooking. What the hell? Nice. Worth it. I think I might die if I drop down there, honestly. You see, that's bait.
Occult energy.
Oh. I knew that was bait. Okay, let's see what's next. Okay then. Spectacular. Geronimo, I guess. Yikes.
You're almost outside. There's a path through the tombs nearby.
Yes, that's great and all, but I mean to explore. Because I want that armor. What is that? Found a ruby. Okay, cool. Area thoroughly explored, I guess. Time to drop in the hole. Another weapon already? Precision weapon that delivers high damage with a slow rate of fire. Headshots will deal significant bonus damage. It's the second of the rail spike class. Press X to switch between the guns in a weapon class on the fly. Okay. Ooh, boy. Okay, I think we're done here. I didn't see any secretive areas, so let's move on, shall we? Alright, let's see what we got. Okay. I like that one. I guess let's keep going. Okay. Okay. In here, I thought this was a special thing. I didn't realize that was actually just the key to moving forward. I was looking at this as a secret.
This attack on the barracks is a diversion. My father will need help. Ensign, mobilize the Slayer's dragon. Marking the Slayer's HUD now.
Alright, let's... Yes, another secret. But it's something I'm already maxed out on. And that's okay. It just counts as I found the secret area.
Finally, jeez. Oh, that sucked. Well, I happen to know where there's a life signal, so... Yeah. Alright, now let's be on the lookout for other secrets as well. Doesn't appear to be anything over here. What about over here? Armor, but no secrets. Hey, I was promised a dragon. Cultists. This really isn't a secret.
Okay, this really isn't a secret either, but it's just like an extra platform to gather extra supplies. However, that looks like it might be a secret. It is a secret. Nice. Okay, so I wasn't supposed to jump here. Assholes. Ah! Shooting me. Damn. I hate those shielded dudes. They suck. A lot. That's all 3 challenges done in this level.
Slayer is approaching the bridge to the Dragon's aviary.
Let's use the shrine. Okay. Huh. Okay. This upgrades the shield. Nice. Bouncies. I like bouncies. You know what? We may as well upgrade as much as we can. No reason not to, really. Oh boy. Champion Vagary. Attack the rear unarmored side of Vagary to deal extra damage. The front side is protected with gold armor, takes reduced damage. Parry Hell Surge attacks will build up stun, leaving its backside vulnerable. How did he get me twice? That sucked a lot. It took 2 of my
Aviary
sigils
unlocked.
before I figured
Clear
it
the
out.
Slayer's launch pad.
What I want is my sigils back, man. Collected almost all the gold. Collected 1 of the 2 rubies. And got the demonic essence. Nice. Nice. I got a lot of the stuff. Nice. That is so much stuff. Alright, I want to take a look at my toys. Cool. Alright, folks. We're going to call it here tonight. I do appreciate those of you that decided to come hang out, and I'll see y'all tomorrow with more game news and some more Doom. Alright, everybody, be